Captain, we know the child was born in 𝐜𝐴𝐷𝐼 Village, which the Adventurer and Trade Guilds both rank a 1, the lowest score it's possible to receive.
What about the people who left?
I've checked every one of those lists, and the child's name wasn't on any of them. Most people left the village with their whole families, except one. There was an 8-year-old girl who ran away alone.
Well then, that tells me the child has a secret. Besides her gender, there's something more.
All right, my friends, this week's episode of The Weakest Tamer was so good. I think I started saying it last week because last week I was like, okay, it's brought me back. Like, it's been pretty mid for the most part, and there's nothing wrong with a mid anime. Like, it wasn't bad by any means, but it was just like not setting the world on fire. It was just this little cutesy, you know, slice of life that kind of takes inspiration from things like By the Grace of the Gods. And shit, there's a chance that this could have been, you know, created before that. But if I had to put a, you know, a pin in it, I would say, yeah, it looks like it takes inspiration from shows like By the Grace of the Gods. And I was like, you know, it's been okay. But last week I was like, this is what I wanted from this show, is like her arriving in the town, getting acclimated, learning more about the world, you know, finding a different familiar, you know, these kinds of things. And I thought it was really good. This week's episode, though, was the perfect palate cleanser to end my day. Just so you guys know, I've watched 𝐜𝐴𝐷𝐼 and Peeps today. I've watched The Wrong Way to Use Healing Magic today. And both of those have kind of like, they were kind of poo-poo episodes this week. And I will tell you that I was like, oh, okay, I'm going to wrap up with Weakest Tamer. I really hope this week's episode's good, but it was tremendous. Like, I would say 9 out of 10. Like, this is exactly what I want from this show. Like, it is really heartfelt. Like, it was a really heartfelt episode, and perfect transition into the ED as well, too, which is slower and talks about being the one and talks about being, you know, special and like really good, you know, heartfelt ED. But I really felt like the conversation between the guards at the end of the episode, talking about like, you know, not judging her and understanding that she's a little kid, like she's 8 years old. You know what I mean? She's a baby. Like, that reminds me of my daughter. Like, she's 9, and she's a baby. You know what I mean? Like, I think there's something. The reason I'm closer to this show, or the reason why this episode maybe hit a little bit more, is like, I really felt like the guard kind of like had that kind of like what do you call it, like guardian mindset. And I was like, yo, the guard's like one sentence away from like adopting this kid. At least that's how I felt. Like, you know, they just vibe. And I'm a little closer to it because, you know, I have kids, and not everybody does or has to have, but I think there's some folks that, and I'll tell you, before I had kids, it wasn't me. But there are some folks who inherently, like, they just really get along or really love children. There's just something by nature, that's how they were created. And they just really vibe with kids. And you could tell that was this guardsman. Now, I don't know if he maybe has a backstory. Maybe he had a kid. Maybe he lost a kid. Maybe he had kids. Maybe they're older now. We don't know for sure. He could just be some single dude who just really vibes with children. Like, there are people like that who it's just like in their nature to really like want to protect kids and get along with kids and befriend kids. And I think that that's awesome. And I will tell you, before I had them, that wasn't me. But now that I have them, I will tell you, like, children are precious. And that's what makes me think a little bit more about this show, is like, yeah, she has a little ding ding in her head, which I still hate. But at the root of it is she's this little 8-year-old girl who had to run away from her village. And I can't imagine my kid out there, you know, trying to figure things out and stuff like that. I think that she could, and I think she would be as curious and as inquisitive, and I think that she would ask questions. But it's hard, and it's good to have adults and people who aren't pieces of shit, who would like help and guide. Much like, you know, the people who sold her the pelt, or that she sold the pelts to, much like the banking, much like the guild, much like the guards, like the adults that aren't pieces of crap, who are like, they're willing to, you know, give that little bit of help and stuff like that. The guy who sold her the tent, you know what I mean? Like, these are things as an adult you should do for children. These are things that you should, like, if they don't have the ability to, you should give a discount, give some really good advice, give something free, you know, like the guy this episode gave her a piece of fruit, you know, like, those are the things that you should do. So in an amalgamation of everything, I felt like this episode was exactly what I wanted to see from the show, and then she ended up leaving. Also, she earned a lot of money this episode by catching bandits, and really was her Black Panther. And I hope that the Soros or whatever, I hope that the Black Panther ends up traveling with her, because it's a beautiful companion to have. And I just think this was a really good episode. And as a reminder, I judge each episode based on its own merits. Sometimes that means my opinion might change, because I'm really just reviewing this episode, not the whole show every time I speak. But that's what I got from this episode, is like, I still feel, I think a few episodes I still feel like she doesn't need the ding, 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 ding other person in her head. This could have just been a girl with 0 stars who got kicked out of her village. I don't really think that it would change much. Every so often, her voice would give her some kind of little piece of advice that's kind of good. But I think by and large, you know, she's as curious as an 8-year-old would be. And I don't really think that this show would change at all if the dinging was in her head. Again, that's my only gripe with the show overall. But this episode was awesome. Perfect palate cleanser to end my Friday. So anyways, with that being said, guys, I hope you guys have a beautiful rest of your day. I hope you guys watch some good anime today, and I'll see you guys next week. Peace.